Hi everyone, my name is Shauna, in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing another book tag, and this is one that is really important to do, and this one is the Stand with Trans Kids book tag. This tag was created by Leo Bancroft, and I will link his YouTube channel down in the description below. Essentially, there's 10 different questions. Most of these questions have to do with transgender representation in media, whether that be books, movies, celebrities, TV shows, things like that. So I found these tag questions to be deeper than a lot of other book tags that I've seen. These questions really take the step from just superficial doing the book tag to actually diving in and exploring your consumption of trans media, which I find to be really interesting, and I find this tag to be really meaningful. The first question for this tag says, "Tag some fabulous friends who also may want to do this tag," and hashtag stand with trans kids. So I am not going to tag anyone just because I generally don't take people in tags, but I highly recommend that all of you do this tag. And if you don't want to do this tag, I still recommend considering each of these questions, because I think that this tag will force you to consider how much media that you are consuming with trans and non-binary and gender non-conforming characters in it. So without further ado, let's get on to the bulk of this video. Question number 2 is, tell us about some books in your TBR pile featuring a trans/non-binary character or nonfiction about trans/non-binary stuff. I don't really honestly have that much nonfiction on my TBR, just in general, like relating to any topic. Just nonfiction is not really my go-to genre. However, I do have some fiction. I'm going to talk about 3 right here that are on my TBR, but there is a ton more on my TBR. These are just the 3 that came to mind when I first heard this question. So the first one is Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. I actually have a signed edition of this because I met Anita Kelly, because Anita Kelly was signing with Alison Cochrane, who's one of my favorite authors. And Love and Other Disasters is a queer romance that has non-binary representation in it. This book involves a popular reality competition show called The Chef Special, and there is a non-binary character named London who is on the show, as well as a gal named Dahlia, and these two obviously fall in love. I'm really looking forward to reading this one, in part because I watched tons of cooking reality shows. I went through a phase a couple years back where I strictly watched that. Even though I can't eat solid food, it was my guilty pleasure to watch all of those shows. And so I feel like this one will be really fun for me to read because I've seen so many of those cooking reality shows. So I feel like I'll really be able to picture exactly what's going on. And I'm really hoping to fall in love with London and Dahlia. So really looking forward to reading Love and Other Disasters in the future. Another one that I have on my list is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. Oh my gosh, wait, Goodreads says that Cemetery Boys is a series now. Okay, it looks like Cemetery Boys is getting a sequel. I was not expecting that, but that's cool. Cemetery Boys is a young adult fantasy story, and Cemetery Boys has a main character who's trans named Piadriel, and I am really looking forward to reading this one. I don't know too much about this one. I know a lot more about Aiden Thomas than his books, but I'm still really looking forward to reading this one. Aiden Thomas is another author who I haven't met Aiden, but Aiden lives in my area, and I'm always baffled by how many authors live in my area. And so I've just seen Aiden around. I don't know why so many authors live in the Portland area, and I didn't even register how many lived in the Portland area until I saw Aiden at a Barnes & Noble. And then I've seen a ton of other Portland authors. I'm like, oh, you're a popular author. I didn't know you lived near me. Lainey Taylor lives near me, and I've seen her a bunch. Just wowza, did not know there was so many authors who live near me. And the third one that I'm going to be talking about is Felix Ever After by Kaysen Calendar. Felix Ever After is a queer contemporary story, and it follows Felix, who's trans. I don't know too much about this one, but I hear everyone talk about this one, so I can't wait to read it and see if it's worth the hype. I'm hoping it'll be really good. It has one of my favorite covers of all time, and I can't wait to dive into Felix Ever After soon. Next up is question number 3. Recommend a favorite book / show / movie featuring a trans / non-binary character. I have a few that I'm gonna say for this. So Never Have I Ever is a Netflix show, and in season 3 there is a non-binary character, and I love Never Have I Ever. There's also sapphic representation in the show. Never Have I Ever I don't even know how to fully describe it because the plot has like changed so much from the start. But like I highly recommend everyone just like dive into it in an open mind. Like don't read into too much about what the plot is about because it's such a complex and like funny yet heartfelt story. And I just wish more people would watch it. And the final season is coming out soon. So I highly recommend getting caught up on Never Have I Ever before that final season comes out. And then Wonder Egg Priority is one that I'm going to include in here because Wonder Egg Priority is one of my favorite animes and it has a trans character in it. Well, one explicitly trans character, and then there's one character in Wonder Egg Priority who I feel is very trans coded, but it does never explicitly say that she's trans. Momo, like I firmly believe that she's trans, but like it never explicitly says that she's trans. So yeah, but just check trigger warnings for Wonder Egg Priority because literally almost every triggering thing in imagination is in Wonder Egg Priority. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the plot of Wonder Egg Priority, and I think you're going to understand how triggering it is, but it's such a beautiful anime. The plot of Wonder Egg Priority is there's this group of 4 girls, and they have all known someone who has committed suicide. So these 4 girls find out that they can go on this adventure to bring the person back that they were close to. So they go on these really intense adventures, and at the end of these adventures, their end goal will be to save the person that they know who they lost to suicide. So it's a really intense story, but it is so like beautifully done and I highly recommend it, but check trigger warnings because I literally can't recommend this without emphasizing that you need to check all the trigger warnings in existence for it. A book that I read with non-binary characters in it is Dragon Pearl. The sequel has more non-binary characters than the first one. The first one, Dragon Pearl, just has one non-binary character, but Dragon Pearl is part of the Rick Riordan Presents series, and it takes place in space. It's a sci-fi, and it involves Korean mythology, and I feel like that's all people need to know to go into the series because it is just so good, and I especially love the second one, although I know that's an unpopular opinion, because I know a lot of people say that the first one was way better than the second one, but I'm flip-flop. Like, I really enjoy them both, but the second one, I just love it so much, and I think it's because of the main character that I love Tiger Owner better than Dragon Pearl. And then Onder and Santi Were Here by Johnny Garzavilla is another one, and I love Onder and Santi Were Here. Onder is non-binary, and Onder and Santi Were Here is a queer romance. Honor and Santi Were Here can get really intense at times because it involves ICE and it involves undocumented immigrants, but it is such a great story. It's a romance and it involves art, it involves cooking, and I love everything about Honor and Santi Were Here. And the final one that I'm going to talk about, even though there's more that I want to talk about, like maybe I'll make a video in the future specifically dedicated to books with trans and non-binary representation in it. But the final one that I'm going to talk about today is a graphic novel, and this is Cheer Up, Love and Pom Poms. It's by Crystal Fraser. The letterer is Oscar O. Jupiter, and the illustrator is Val Wise. Cheer Up, Love and Pom Poms is a queer romance that involves cheerleading, and one of the 2 main characters is trans. So I freaking love Cheer Up, Love and Pom Pom. I highly recommend it to everyone. It's so good. Next up is question number 4. Everyone has their own journey and no one demographic is a monolith. Recommend a book with a journey, however you define that. I'm going to recommend 2 books with a journey, so I feel like most of the fantasy books that I've read, the characters have to go on journeys. So Legendborn is a fantasy book that I read. I feel like Bree, the main character, really has to go on a journey. In part, her journey has to do a lot with grief on top of like all the action and everything related to the King Arthur legend. And she also has to continue her journey in Bloodmarked, although Legendborn is so much better in my opinion. Oh, and there's also a non-binary character in the series. Greer is non-binary. And then The Charm Offensive is a contemporary romance. It's by Alison Cochrane, who I mentioned earlier. I love The Charm Offensive, and Charlie in The Charm Offensive really has to go on a journey of discovering who he is and discovering where he falls on the ace umbrella. Part of the reason why The Charm Offensive really stands out to me and resonates with me so much too is because Dev and Charlie both struggle with mental health issues, and I can see myself in both of them and both of their mental health issues. And also Charlie discovering where he falls on the ace umbrella and his sexuality and stuff, I just relate to that a ton. Question number 5. None of us knows everything, even about our own identities, especially since we're not a monolith and each have our own journey. What is a book that taught you something either about yourself or the world around you? So for this, I'm going with Found a Night by Ben Alderson. I've talked about this before, but Found a Night is the book that helped me realize that I was asexual. So basically, until I was 14, I thought I was asexual. And then I got my first crush, and I was utterly confused because Like, I knew that I was romantically attracted to someone, but I didn't understand the fact that, like, that sexual attraction part was not there for me, even though it was there for other people. So I said that I was straight until I was 18, I believe, and that is when I read Found a Night. In Found a Night, there's a character who experiences romantic attraction, but she is also asexual. And I read that and I literally put the book down and started bawling my eyes out because I was like, hang on a second. I wasn't wrong when I was saying that I was asexual in the past, but I was wrong for saying that I was straight. And it like opened my eyes and it made me like accept myself. And then I went into like a deep dive of like researching asexuality more, and I was like, hey, this is literally me. And I didn't know that until I was 18 reading this book. Like, I didn't understand that romantic and sexual attraction were two different things because nobody taught that to me. I feel like there isn't enough education happening about the differences between the different types of attractions. So Found a Night like literally transformed my life and helped me accept that I was asexual. Question number 6. When things are hard in the world or in our lives, sometimes there are things we can do to help center and refocus ourselves, to bring joy, to keep us going, to keep living, resisting, being our authentically amazing selves. What are things you do to center yourself or find joy? There's two major things that I do when I need to like center myself, refocus, bring joy, that type of stuff. So the first thing is I found that my meaning in life and the way that I can find like purpose in everything that I do is by helping other people. So when I'm feeling really down, what I do is I try and take myself out of my body and take myself out of my own misery by helping other people. This could look like going to a volunteer event. This could look like going online and simply going out of my way to compliment as many people as possible. Or I also can help pets. This counts with helping pets, so I can help my own pets. I could help other people's pets. It's things like that that really help me like find joy and help me find like purpose in my own personal life. I'm sorry that my dog's barking right now, but it's also fitting that she's barking right now considering I'm talking a little bit about pets. She conveniently waited until I started talking about pets to start barking nonstop. The other thing that I do is I seek out like-minded people a lot online. I don't really have the resources to seek out like-minded people that often in person. I don't drive, I'm disabled, and it's really challenging to leave the house. So online I find these people and I get inspired by the way that they live their lives openly online. And also I find that when I'm really struggling, I can go to different groups. Like, for example, I'm in a bunch of asexuality support groups, and it's in these groups that I can find the support and help that I need to get me through the hard times. I obviously do like therapy as well too, but therapy is like a once a week or once every other week thing, and sometimes I just need the support of like multiple people who really understand my identities and who I am, which is why I go to the asexuality support groups. Question number 7, what's your walk-on music or you feel at home in your body music? For me, it's Ex-Wives from Six the Musical. It's one that I can really like immerse myself in, and it's such a great like musical in general because all these 6 queens went through so much because of annoying King Henry VIII, but they all pushed through and stayed as strong as they could for as long as they could, and I really like that about them, and I find them to be really interesting people to learn about. And I love how Six, the songs are just so upbeat and so like addictive. Like, it's so easy to just immerse myself in them and just be so happy and so in the moment when the songs turn on. Six the Musical is coming on tour to Portland this summer, and I'm like hoping to go see it. I'm so excited. I need to still buy tickets, but like I can't wait. Like, I'm so ready to see Six the Musical. I've been such a fan since 2020. That's when I first got into Six the Musical, and I just can't wait to see it in person. It's gonna be so great. Question number 8, finding mentors, people of wisdom, or heroes can be another way to help us navigate life. Who are some of your mentors? Can you share something they taught you or inspired you to learn more about? I feel like my mentors right now aren't like as strong as they used to be. Like, I used to have people that I'd interact with on a regular basis that were sort of mentors, but because I'm now disabled and spend most of my time at home, the only like people that I could consider mentors that I have consistent like contact with are my parents. My mom taught me to keep helping other people even when it gets hard. She is an elementary school teacher, and seeing her persevere and trying to do everything to help these kids even when there is problems in the school, even when it can be really hard to get the motivation to go back to work each day and help the kids because of how stressful the job can be, she pushes through it and she helps these kids in whatever way she can. So she inspires me that way. My dad, the major thing that he taught me that's always stuck with me, that I always have to tell myself when I'm doing schoolwork, is he had the saying, do the best that you can because that's all you can do. And I might have butchered his saying a little bit, but essentially he's saying, like, you need to try your best in everything that you do, but you can't always be getting like 100% on every assignment, which is something that, like, it's really important for him to be saying that to me, because honestly, like, I'm a perfectionist and I mentally beat myself up whenever I get even like 99% on an assignment. So my dad saying that has helped me through some really hard times. A couple other mentors that I had in the past who I don't really have contact with anymore just because of my life situation is I had two professors at my community college who were mentors to me. The first one, I was writing an essay on sexual harassment, and it was in a time in my life where I'd finally realized, yeah, I was sexually harassed and that is what a certain person did to me, and I was struggling with that. But we were supposed to write these essays, and he said, if you feel like you shouldn't write about it, but your heart is telling you to write about it, write about it. And so I decided to dive in and write this essay on sexual harassment, even though I was like terrified and I had barely accepted what happened to me at that point in my life. He was inspiring to me because he allowed me the opportunity to dive into that and to look into that and to finally like process a little more of what happened. And also I was writing about like PTSD related to that experience too, and he was like telling me about a family member he has who has PTSD, and he was telling me about EMDR therapy, which I still haven't tried, but it's a therapy that like none of my therapists had really like brought up in detail with me before, but he took the time out of like a session that we were having to have him like help with little edits on my paper, and he went out of his way to tell me about this type of therapy for PTSD to help me out with like all of that, and I really appreciate that. And it was like my first term at the community college, and it really shaped my life. And also in particular, it made a big deal to me to have him be so supportive and to have him like suggest that type of therapy for me, because I had a classmate in that class who looked at my topic for my essay, and we were supposed to write about a topic that has to do with something that we're connected to. So like, for example, I couldn't write about skydiving because I have no connection to that topic. So like, there was a student, he looked over at my paper and he was like, sexual harassment, you have to write about something that you actually are connected to. And it was like so invalidating for him to look at me and to say, oh yeah, she would never be sexually harassed. And he didn't know me that well, but he went out of his way to invalidate my experiences. But in the midst of that, my professor was being supportive, and my professor, like, I didn't tell him explicitly what the classmate said, but just having his support through the whole process of writing that essay really meant a lot to me. Another mentor that I had at the community college was a history professor, and her presence was really important to me because she helped me ignite a love for history that none of my other teachers and professors of history could ever do. And also, I was going through a severely hard time during the second course that I took with her because I literally had to miss some of school to be in an eating disorder program, even though I just got misdiagnosed. But she went out of her way to be really kind and supportive about the whole thing and help me through it. And she went out of her way to say that she was hoping that I could take more classes with her in the future. And even though my health didn't get to the point where I could take more classes with her in the future, her support really meant a lot to me because she was one of the professors that I really connected with the most at my school. So yeah, that was my long spiel about mentors. Let's move on to question number 9. Who are some trans/non-binary booktubers, Instagrammers, authors, actors, etc. you'd like to shout out? So Elliot Page, I freaking love Elliot Page. He is such a great person and he is an actor. I love him in Umbrella Academy, and I really liked how Umbrella Academy, like the 3rd season, they departed from the comics, but in order to respect Elliot's identity and incorporate Victor's transition into the show. So Elliot plays Victor Hargreaves, and Victor's transition was written into the show because Elliot transitioned between seasons 2 and 3. So I really love that whole deal with the show. Antonia Garza is another trans person that I really admire and that I really like. So she is a, how do I describe it? So she came to fame on YouTube, and she is extremely hilarious. Like, she is one of the funniest YouTubers out there, in my opinion. And I mean, now she spends more time on like TikTok and on Instagram, but I really like all of her content, and especially her YouTube videos. They're just such a source of like comfort and happiness for me. The other one that I wanted to mention here is Bella Ramsey, and she is an actress, and Bella is gender fluid, and I think that's really fantastic. And I really like Bella as an actor. He was just so fantastic in The Last of Us, and I also watched this movie Two for Joy that he's in, and he did so good. Bella has been an actor for such a long time, but they're also really young, and they're one of the most talented young actors that I've seen in such a long time. And question number 10, what are some organizations you'd like to shout out for supporting trans kids / trans folks? And because I'm filming this video and uploading it, I'm also going to be making a donation to this organization. This organization is Trans Santa. I really like what they do. Obviously, like, you could choose to just donate during the Christmas season, but I like to donate year-round. Trans Santa posts letters written by trans people who are needing support, and people come in and become Santas for these people. So they have Amazon wishlist most of the time, and you can send them gifts off of their Amazon wishlist. Some stuff is just stuff that will make their life funner, happier, little things like that. Other stuff can be really important to their transition and important in helping them feel comfortable in their own body. And if you don't want to order off of one of the people's Amazon wish lists, you can also go ahead and donate to the organization as a whole, which is what I'm going to be doing after I get done editing and uploading this video. So that was all for this video. I know this video is a long one, but I really wanted to take my time with each question and really dive into each question as much as I could. I hope all of you are having a great week, great weekend, or whatever time of the week I upload this video. My schedule for my videos has been sort of all over the place lately due to factors outside of my control. If you'd like to see more book tags, I have a playlist that I will link down in the description below with all of my other book tags. I hope to see all of you in my next video, and until next time, goodbye.